conversation is today to talk about Bharat. And there's a big difference here between India and Bharat, and you will know why as we speak. Right? So three things happened simultaneously, and all Nostradamus prediction, all trade pundits, all strategy experts didn't see it coming. We had three major inflections in the last 2 years. One is very obvious, the pandemic. That drove 5 to 10 year digital transformation roadmap compressed into a couple of years, and people who didn't even have it on their strategy started talking about it and finally started doing something about it. That was the first headwinds. The second, the trade wars, and these are not done yet. We are in a sweet spot as Bharat, and I'll cover that in my discussion, how this is impacting us and how it will impact the SMEs in this room and beyond. It's quite interesting. And I'm going to connect some macro indicators with micro and the industry as we have this conversation. And the third is the geopolitical war. Russia, Ukraine is just one of them, but there are 17 such small wars impacting trade barriers, getting artificial duty structures in place. And in that as well, Bharat is at very good sweet spot. Number one, all the broken data infrastructure we had in bits and pieces, and my Tata Tele friends will tell you that in telecom, we did exactly this few years back, maybe a decade more if I am not mistaken. We leapfrogged by implementing and joining all the fragmented data systems we had to enable governance and seamless transaction. That's the first major change we did as Bharat. The second, I've already talked about it, the JAM, the Aadhaar UPI platform, unprecedented in all respect. Complete monopoly of credit cards, complete monopoly of demonetization, everything taken care in span of 3 years, and that was the UPI stack. The third, I already talked about it, the open source platform for commerce. It is already done under beta testing right now. And the last is integrating these platforms. This might surprise few of you, if not all, but we have a major platform already implemented, being used in each of these key areas which impacts us, impacts SME, and impacts end-to-end connectivity, whether it is trade, whether it is commerce, whether it is fintech, or whether it is monitoring and controls. All the 4 pieces of a trade as classified, we have already mastered that by launching these platforms, and not in one sector, across sectors, and you can see the sectors here.
Just to keep him secure, right? These are the right steps to take. And I'll just stop with one small example here. All of us know that identity is the easiest barrier for any hacker to break. Everybody has passwords. A lot of passwords overlap our personal accounts. Most of our passwords have date, birth, patterns very similar. It just needs a few lines of code for you to break the password which is there. As an organization where I'm running it on premise with my, let's say, Active Directory, I would not be able to put right controls. The first step would be that if I could sync my identities to the cloud with no additional cost, I would get multi-factor authentication enabled, which means that one simple step, one factor of authentication built in across for this.
A better customer experience then leads to better retention, better ability for you to actually build your wallet share with that customer and also create repeat business for you. So a correlation between your investment and spend in a SaaS-based software to the business outcomes that you're actually driving for your organization is something that I would ask you hold, every vendor of yours accountable to. Secondly, when you think about this cost and where this cost actually comes in, the ability to actually have a switch on, switch off, or a subscription based model which allows you to scale gives you the flexibility to invest in software to the extent that your business actually needs it. We've gone through multiple ups and downs over these last few years, COVID being the best example of it. And there have been hard decisions made within enterprises to actually pull back the purse strings, look at spend more deeply, and your ability to then manage spend on licenses, which is potentially subscription oriented, demand oriented, can be turned on or off, allows you to manage your spend versus sunken cost upfront. So when you look at spending on potentially an old world client server or on-premise solution, the concept of total cost of ownership comes into the picture, right? Your upfront spend may be lower, but if you look at a 5-year horizon in terms of what you're actually able to do with an on-premise system, plus the workforce needed to manage it, I think the costs start to take a very different picture in terms of moving to a cloud-based solution. And then today, I think cost is really not the driver. It is your ability to scale and innovate to match customer, changing customer ecosystem.
Everything what was there earlier has been converged into the Teams, Microsoft Teams, for example, or a Google, right? They have that the entire stack built around it. It's all on the cloud as on today, as we speak. So pandemic was one of the key driver, I would say, from an adoption point of view, wherein majority of the schools in India quickly moved into Teams or quickly moved into Google Meets. Right. Otherwise, the telcos would have been there, part of it, and then again same 10 million lines of code getting hit. So as a user, I'm saying, as a user, if you are going to do a startup, for example, you can straight away take that stack, which is there, part of a WebRTC or something, which is embedded possibly in Teams also. For Google Meets, definitely is there. You can build those use cases on the cloud, right, by 5 lines of code or 10 lines of code, which you just talked about it. You don't have to bother about those 10 million lines which is sitting on the bottom. So that's the beauty of the cloud and a simplification that has been done so far. Going forward, there will be no code, low code. That's the objective, where majority of the IT players are trying for it. So business guys have to just think and apply the business mind.
Obviously are the erstwhile Docomo and now transformed into a pure play enterprise player. So we come from a traditional connectivity background, right? As you know, internet, voice, data, voice services, and now we have transitioned into a end-to-end technology and connectivity player. Our goal, and we focus only on the SMB segment. So if you look at our offerings would be tailored for the SMB market, right? So you start off small and we scale, you can scale as you grow, right? Which is one of the key benefits of cloud, right? And our entire positioning is about that, right? So, all of you working with multiple vendors, working with different cloud providers or with different, platforms. Many of you use a mix of Microsoft, Google, Zoom, various other platforms, right? So Tata Tele brings to you all of this, right? And as a single vendor, single provider to make your life easy.